let's go back a little bit to something you were saying about learning. I think one of my biggest challenges with clients in particular is it's not about learning, it's about knowing. And it's about them already knowing what has. There's a need to know without learning. There's the need to know that I read something somewhere and I know this answer. I went to this class, I did this, as opposed to looking at that piece of information as a door opener and allowing it to influence you to learn. And I think a lot of the students today, because there is so much information that you go online and it gives you the menu, it gives you the recipe, and all of a sudden you know how to make mac and cheese or go out and get a loan. And there's just so much where it's fashioned so that you just step into the box and go down the road. Do you experience any of that, or am I just the only?
No, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I think it's kind of what I like to tell. I was telling my friend this the other day, and that's typical. It's the stock chart thing. Zoom out. Sometimes you just need to zoom out. Yeah, you know how to do that thing, but then take a zoom out and look where that thing fits in the bigger picture, and how that thing might fit in some other pictures. As you say, looking at it as an opportunity. Is this thing that I now know how to do? What is the opportunity created there, or not created there, or how does it feed into this other thing? It's just simply just taking a step back and zooming out and taking a higher look at the things that you have in front of you. And as you say, not being so drilled down into the recipe that's been served up to you on a platter, but just zooming out and then looking at it as how it fits into the bigger picture. I think, to your point, will expose those opportunities. And I think not a lot of people do that, because as you say, we're getting pummeled with tidbits of information all day, every day now. And it's not often do you take that time to just sit down and zoom out. I mean, this is somewhat related, but like my wife marvels at it, and some of my friends do, but I am happy to sit quietly without a book or listening to music anywhere. Like, I can do that. It doesn't bother me. And some people, it just floors them that I can do that, but it's easy for me. And maybe it's because I was an only child and I didn't always have all this going on, but it's not hard for me to do that for hours at a time. I can't sleep on planes too, so that might be part of it. I'm just used to not having that sort of thing, but I don't always need the inputs. And I think that's a big problem these days, is that a lot of people, and because of the way the society is raising people up, everyone needs inputs all the time. And I don't know if that's necessarily the answer. I think, as you say, you might miss some of those things you're talking about, those opportunities.
Yeah, I think it's very hard for people to be present.
Yeah.
And I think
Definitely.
You just described a really good example of being present, of being able to absorb without having to capture and put into a little box and make it your own, as opposed to letting it make its own.
Correct.
Make a meaningful thing to you personally that you may apply to somebody else.
I take it almost a step further, and maybe a step too far, and this is something else my wife hates about me, but I feel like putting a name to it, putting it in that box, as you say, just takes away from the thing. It's like looking at the sunset is enough. You don't have to say it. That's a gorgeous sunset. Almost saying that takes away from that sunset. And that's a bit extreme, but that's a literary thing that, we discussed when I was in school, but I think that's a thing. And it kind of feeds into what you're saying, is I like what you said, try to make it your own. Like, it doesn't have to be your own. The moment can exist. It doesn't have to be in your phone. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to tell someone about it. It can just exist. And that can be almost more special.
Well, I think this, what you just said is a bit of the essence of where creativity can happen. Because if you don't have to make it your own, it allows that experience to grow. It allows that experience, that information, that sunset, whatever, will mean something in a different way going down your path. Maybe when you see the sunset and then you go have dinner with your family, it's changed you in some way, or the conversation changes, or your personality is tweaked a bit as to that particular experience, and that allows creativity to happen. And a lot of the world today doesn't allow creativity to do its thing. It doesn't allow it to because again, is looking for those boxes. These are the ABCs.
Right.
Now go get it done, as opposed to, like you said, zooming back and allowing other information to garner itself or surround itself with those ABCs. Because just because you think you know it doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean that it isn't that step or whatever. What's in your future for your position, the new magazines, where you're going? You're already talking about May, you know.
Yeah, it's the relentless pursuit of perfection that never ends. 10 issues per year, the cycle keeps going. A big one I would love, I'm really looking at our digital magazine and making it better. That's a big one. Redesigning, we're probably due for a redesign on the magazine. That'll be coming up, and that's kind of a big deal. It takes some time. There's a lot of things to consider there, but generally, we're at an interesting time. Association work has really reached kind of a crux in that, with the advent of the internet and the advent of the ability of people to congregate on their own in the way that they see fit. We're still, and I think we've done a lot in trying to keep ourselves relevant in that space, but there's still a lot to be done. And it's continuously finding that content and how we can deliver it to you in the ways that you want. It's a tough thing. And as generations cycle in and out through membership, that'll change. So it's really just kind of staying out there on the digital pavement, as it were, and trying to keep our finger on the pulse of our membership and figure out what it is you want and how do you want it, and how we can do that. And we'll continue to strive to do that, into the future. And as always, I think, we'll either succeed or we won't, but all I know is that deadline's still going to come and go, as it always does.
Yeah, there's always the work.
Exactly. That's what one of my first bosses here told me. She said, you know what, you can worry all you want, but just know, no matter what, that deadline's going to come and go. So just do what you can.